Well, I surely didn't expect my first video after 100,000 subscribers to be this. So let's begin. I suppose I should start with the introduction. So this is the corporeal form of TheYamiks, a niche gaming content creator. Namely, for the past 4 years I've been making content for a game called Elite Dangerous, developed by Frontier Developments. These days it's more known as simply Frontier. My style of content is rather explicit in vocabulary and rather critical in nature. As such, I was looking forward to, just like my creator peers, to be covering the next expansion for Elite Dangerous. However, this is what they sent me after I requested a simple review copy. Hey TheYamiks, thanks for your patience. It took a little while for me to get back to you, partly because how busy it is around here at the moment, and also because I was waiting for final numbers on our alpha keys. We unfortunately only have limited number of alpha keys we are able to give out for ODYSSEY, and so they are limited to our core content creators and the press. I'll be sure to let you know if anything changes. Best wishes. No, I technically didn't need this, but still.
Now, for this expansion, there is the so-called pre-order early access quote-unquote alpha. Now, like it or not, it is the first public release, no matter how you dress it up, for which the press and media should be able to report on. Unless there's an even earlier review period planned like for any other game. But since this is just an expansion, this often is not done. So, we'll stick to the earliest public release, be it an alpha, beta, pre-order or not. Now, before we get into what message does Frontier send us with this little small letter, those that are unfamiliar with the review copies or samples, it's basically a copy of something, say a book, piece of hardware, a game disc, or a digital key in this case, that is sent out to critics, press and media in order for them to give their opinion about its quality. That is it. These days, video game developers hand out Steam, GOG or other platform digital keys rather than sending a physical disc. These digital keys, as any digital media, can be copied ad infinitum, at quite literally zero expense. When it comes to sending them out to critics, it's up to whoever is handling them to decide whether or not a copy request is granted or not. For example, Nvidia tends to send out the latest GPUs before the release so that all the publications can take time and review them. Similarly, they can decide not to spend the time, effort or money involved to grant a request. However, this usually is done because a publication requesting it is either too small, has been proven to be biased towards your competitor, unfair, or have said some demonstrable thing, or simply doesn't take part in the community and or industry. So as long as you know what you're talking about and have the platform for presenting it, there is no reason to have a denied request. Of course, a publication can also just simply ignore any and all requests. That's fair too, if a bit annoying, but basically you treat all media equally and fairly. I mentioned that often review copies are sent out ahead of time so that the publications can take time and effort to examine and present their findings in a meaningful time without the need to rush or worry that someone else will have a heads up. It's a basic and understood part of marketing of any product. If you release a good product, reviews help educate your customers and sometimes more. Now, when it comes to yours truly, like any other reviewer, media or press representative, I can purchase my own copy of the game and review it that way, if needed. So clearly it's not about spending or saving money.
Now, let's examine what the company has told me today. Thanks for your patience. It took a little while for me to get back to you, partly because how busy it is around here at the moment, and also because I was waiting for the numbers of our alpha keys. So, Frontier Developments is now claiming that they will be accounting each key. Well, okay, fine. Sometimes keys do end up on grey market key resellers. Fair enough. But I'm not really sure how is that information really what I need to know. But anyways, let's read on. Unfortunately, we have a limited number of alpha keys that we're able to give out for ODYSSEY, and so they are limited to our core content creators and the press. Bullshit! Now that's bullshit! First off, as stated, digital keys can be replicated ad infinitum for zero cost. So them really coming out and telling me that, oh, sorry, we can't give you a key even if you wanted to because they ran out. While happily at the same time selling infinite amount of pre-orders. This is an artificial scarcity that they themselves invented and try to pass on as a valid reason so that they don't have to hand one out to someone like me. And second, limited to our core content creators and press. Well, what the fuck is a core content creator? No, seriously, I'm genuinely confused. Now, I did ask follow-up questions and waited for an answer. I genuinely gave them time, but they still remain unanswered.
Now let's say they had a rule for limiting review copies to creators of certain size. In fact, some AAA publishers don't acknowledge your existence unless you have 1 million or more followers in the first place. However, apparently someone like TheYamiks, a creator who just reached 100,000 subscribers and has been part of a dangerous community for a very long time, becoming in fact the second largest dedicated content platform holder for said game on YouTube alone, somehow does not constitute as a core creator? Now, I did ask and show this message to some of my community creator peers, and all of them were quite struck by this statement. And I shit you not, uniformly replying with one word: bullshit!
Okay, well obviously we know what's going on here. Let's not pretend that the mafioso breaking our kneecaps is just a frail old lady. Frontier Developments will hand out the review copies, access and information to those they deem worthy of the good graces of the god that is Frontier.
Mind you, TheYamiks here is not asking for an NDA behind the scenes detailed access. I'm asking for a simple review copy for the earliest publicly available version of the new expansion so that my viewers, your customers, can be informed about the quality and my opinion of what you have made. So why would Frontier decline my request? If nothing else, within the years of creating content, I have established my content to be, yes, rather explicit and yes, rather critical, often being very specific on the details. But then, isn't that what you would want? An unbiased review? Let alone from someone with such quote-unquote reputation?
After all, it's your job to make a good game, good update, good product. So if you've done that, then all the reviews should reflect it. Unless there's something you're afraid I'll say. Unless there is something you don't want me to see and show to your customers. Unless you only cede zero expense, zero effort digital keys to those you deem favorable and can predict their opinions and coverage.
Funny thing is that somehow this is not the first time Frontier has used its community, media and fans as nothing more than an extended wing of their marketing. It's sad to see whenever you're given or shown anything, you always feel that there's some sort of a marketing reason behind it. In itself, it's not a bad thing. However, when you have a community management team for your live service game, you expect a bit more than just yet another press release showcase. But over the years, I've seen Frontier's MO rather clearly. They've always popped up when there's something to sell, all else be damned. Simply that today we are seeing this in a slightly more evolved version. There is a distinct feeling that Frontier doesn't care for its community and its creators. As long as they sell the game, they're useful. So you better not be like TheYamiks if you want to keep being this quote-unquote core creator and press. Thing is, over the years I've made a point to send and ask questions about specifics of the game in order to provide the best reasoning and commentary possible. I've made sure to make contact. If my actions or commentary would somehow be incorrect, false, misleading, or otherwise unfavorable, there were and still are community management team members, PR team members, who can easily contact me back and clear things up. I've asked in the past if I was blacklisted, numerous times. In fact, the last time was literally last year, and the answer was always, no, you're not blacklisted. So, If TheYamiks is not blacklisted and TheYamiks has not been poked by anyone to let him know that he's unfair or otherwise, what's this about not being a core creator? Screw it, what's this about not being provided equal tools to covering your next big product, like all my other peers and press?
In fact, the only time I was contacted by a member of Frontier was back when they accidentally released ODYSSEY trailer early. It was posted on Reddit and quickly taken down, but I managed to comment on it. I chose to hold back my public reaction and commentary unless somebody else reposted it. Then, not even 5 minutes later, an employee of Frontier contacts me, asking, "What do you know? How much do you know?" It was bizarre and, frankly speaking, pathetic. However, I did express my previously stated that I will be withholding unless somebody else reports on it. And it did. However, thinking back now, I gave it a bit too much courtesy as is, but hey, I get my kind streaks as well. So clearly they know how to contact me and when to contact me. However, that was only done when they wanted to learn what an independent member of the media knows about the super secret reveal thing.
Now, however, instead of coming out like a proper villain and telling me that they won't provide equal courtesy to me as they provide to other people who happen to agree with them just because I may use the word cunt a few times, or actually provide detailed critique. No, instead they attempt to hide behind the made-up term of core creator, implying that one of your biggest creators is not part of their community. I'm sorry, Sugar, but you don't get to choose who is and is not in the community.
Either you provide equal courtesy and respect to all media, or you don't. And this clearly is the case. Worst of all is not only what it says about you, but by proxy alone, what my content creator peers, those who you deem to be core creators, what they are made to be look like to your audience. Fuck, this is so idiotic. I cannot believe how stupid of a move this is.
Even if these core creators and press genuinely agree 100% with you, because you have exerted this control on who gets access and who doesn't by your own arbitrary and what feels like emotional rules, these creators and press simply are made to look like they're shilling for you, not only making them look bad but also diminishing their credibility as unbiased source of information. How else are you supposed to look at someone who is quote-unquote supported by a company that clearly does not care to play fair and honestly with any media, be it positive or negative? This is not the first time Frontier has, shall we say, exerted influence on what should and should not be said. Thus, it also brings into question if they aren't just straight up misleading the public on purpose by creating a certain type of vibe amongst media. Funny thing is that this was not the case in the past. In fact, I've received review copies for my second and third accounts for Elite Dangerous. In turn, I used those accounts several times to make sure that the footage I capture, videos I make would become prettier. Indeed, that's what I've accomplished thanks to this small but nice working relationship, despite my rather critical approach. And guess what? I respected them for it. It really did make them seem like an honest bunch, even when the more out there creator can still work and talk with the PR and community reps. Yet at this point, things have changed, and I can hazard a guess why, but that's not fit for today's topic. Regardless, this change feels like a vindictive personal vendetta against a member of the media by perhaps someone within the company, but maybe I'm wrong.
I'll then leave you on this. Would you trust a company that used to give out review copies to its even more critical creators, but now only provides suitable information to those they deem as suitable? And more so, would you trust these media people and their provided information even if it happened to be their genuine opinion, knowing this writing on the wall from the Frontier? In fact, the most disappointing part about all of this is the fact that Frontier wants to be a publisher, and knowing how they handle distribution of information, how they pick and choose these things, whom to hand out the review copies and more so, information. Would you trust them To sell your game? To handle your game? Vienkārši nožēloju. Tas ir arī viss.